as the president pointed out in his speech at the White House this week.
Let's just segue there real quick.
Oh, great. Hello and welcome back to Dodgers Debate. I'm Jack Harris, the LA Times Dodger beat writer, along with just another solo columnist today, Dylan Hernández. I think Plaschke went in hiding after his 37-0 prediction last week. Blew up in spectacular fashion on this terrible road trip the Dodgers had, or disappointing road trip at least.
Well, he kind of did the Plaschke there, right? I mean, we've seen this show before. Are we talking Dodgers today? Because you look like you're in like your Masters.
Dude, I am ready for the Masters. I don't know. This was my travel day outfit. I flew back from DC today.
So you travel as if you're. Well, you get dressed like you're getting ready to go to the golf course.
I had a jacket on. But yeah, I don't know. I got this vest as a gift last year, and I kind of like it. Like, I might be in on vests now, but yes.
But then you got like that weird shirt underneath it, too.
I know. I'm matching the greens. Look, if I had time to go home to my apartment before this, I would have had a green hat on also, but a golf hat, too.
Who's your pick for the Masters?
It's Rory's time, man. But
I have no idea what you're talking about, so let's...
Who's this Rory person you're talking about? All right. Well, the Dodgers are no longer undefeated, Dylan. Far from it. They lost both series on this trip. They dropped 2 in Philly. They almost got swept by the Nationals in DC. And some concerns for the first time about the way they played, about the defense, about the pitching staff, which is without Blake Snell now. What did you make of these 6 games and kind of some of the, after how well the first week went, some of the flaws that might have gotten exposed about, or what this team will have to deal with this year?
Yeah, well, the defensive miscues, right, are somewhat unexpected given that what we saw in the World Series, where the Yankees were the ones kind of throwing the ball and dropping it and everything. And, the Dodgers were kind of a fundamentally sound team. That said, if you kind of take a step back,
as the president pointed out in his speech at the White House this week.
Oh, that's right. Well,
right.
We got to get into that.
Somebody did a lot of research for him to be like, "Oh, the Dodgers were the more fundamental team."
Do you think the let's just segue there real quick.
Oh, great.
Do you think the Trump administration did their research by reading your stories?
I don't know.
How much pride would that give you, knowing if you knew that President Trump was reading? Because they had arms, but they were healthy, but they weren't.
Maybe he was reading the coffee table book that we put out. Like, that's, kind of more a nice encapsulation of the whole season, which you can still buy, by the way. Yeah, I don't think they're daily readers of the Los Angeles Times there. No, I don't.
You don't think they are? I get a lot of those kind of like weird, like, I'm going to drop my subscription, and clearly don't subscribe. Like, the grammar's terrible. They look like Trump tweets, right? Periods all over the place, like weird capitalization. I mean, he read better than I thought.
What, like his speech?
Yeah, like when he was reading. I didn't think he could.
I mean, he puts on a good show in the room.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, anyway, going back to the Dodgers defense,
a seamless segue back.
Yeah, but look, right? They were going back to the Mookie Betts at shortstop thing. They were going to give him this opportunity. I mean, I think it was kind of pretty clear at that point that, okay, well, we're the Dodgers. We're going to get to October anyway. We have the luxury of just kind of figuring this stuff out and dealing with it later. So when I look at the defensive stuff, I'm not like too alarmed in the sense that I just kind of figure, right, they'll get to late August again, and if Mookie's a major league shortstop, he stays there, and if they're not, they move him back to the outfield, and they'll be a very good defensive team again. The pitching stuff,
or second base,
right? Yeah, but they'll do whatever they have to do to just kind of clean that up. And as far as the pitching goes, I don't know. I still think, I guess these depth guys weren't quite as.
Well, I mean, the problem there is...
Because what I've always said, right, is like they have a bunch of guys that can beat the Rockies on a Wednesday.
Yes.
And, they ran out...
Apparently not the Nationals on a Tuesday, unfortunately.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they ran out a couple guys there, right? That what do you kind of make?
I mean, well, the thing is that they don't have their full complement of depth at the moment, right? Like, Justin Wroblewski and Landon Knack were the depth guys they turned to last year. Wroblewski didn't pitch great last year. Knack was a lot better. I think it was surprising to see him struggle as much as he did. But it's a reminder that, yeah, I think in the long term, like, they're going to be okay. I think even with, like, if they have injuries on the pitching staff, they're going to be better suited to deal with them. But when Shohei Ohtani's out, when Tony Gonsolin is out, when Clayton Kershaw's out, and then somebody else from the main group gets hurt, you still have some questions. And I think it probably, like, the talent of this team, they're still going to win. Like, we're talking about a bad road trip. I think they're still on pace for like 115 wins right now or something.
Oh, they're still going to get to 120.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, look, I want to make something clear. Plashke was wrong. He's wrong, period. I still have a chance to be right. I just want to put that out there.
But in specific moments, they can still end up being shorthanded pitching wise, I think. And that's kind of what you saw these last couple of days. And then, yeah, on top of that, I think defensively, the bigger worries that I would have, it's honestly less about Mookie Betts, because I actually think, if you look at this national series, he misses the ball on Monday in that first game where it's this like hard one hopper that he just didn't get a good read on. The bounce kind of stayed down on him. It's a tough play, but he couldn't make it. He spent the next couple days working on that kind of play. Now, that one was to his forehand, but on Wednesday, he comes back in that first inning and ends up saving a run on a hard one-hopper to his backhand that he gets to. And he was saying afterwards, like, that's part of this, right? Like, that's a play that he'll probably only experience 5 times over the course of a season or something, but he misses one. He was able to, work on it over a couple of days, improve at it. So I think that's just part of the growth process there. I think some of the other defensive issues we've seen can, maybe are bigger questions. I think especially in the outfield, like that's an area where the defense is, at least when Michael Conforto, Teoscar Hernandez, and Andy Pages are your main 3 outfielders, that could be a weak spot, and is something that I think as you kind of start looking longer term over the course of the year, it's like, okay, either those guys have to hit well, and I think this especially applies to somebody like Pages. It's like either those guys have to hit well, or that's an area where, again, longer term, I think if you're the Dodgers, you have to start kind of thinking about how could we improve that? Do we need to put Tommy Edman in the outfield more often? Do we need to kind of rearrange the infield a little bit because of that? So again, and not to make like too much out of 6 games, but those are some of the things that I kind of felt pop up on this trip. Is you saw some of the vulnerabilities. They also made, bad base running mistakes. Tyler Glasnow just like melted down in the rain in Philadelphia. But there are some structural weaknesses with this team that did get exposed on this trip that I just think longer term this season, are going to become questions about, okay, as they start thinking about towards the end of the year in October, how can you work around those things and try to get back to being the team they were in the postseason last year when they were really fundamentally sound and kind of could rely on their defense in the World Series.
The thing that gives me kind of some peace of mind there about the defense is the fact that I think you have an in-house solution at Edman.
Right.
It's not like you have to go out and get the guy. I think it's pretty obvious what it is. You keep, again, Pius is hitting right now, so you kind of give him the rope to see if, this is kind of a tenable situation. I'm not necessarily sure it is, at least with him in center field. The pitching to me, though, is kind of, they don't have like their full kind of range of depth right now, but they're never going to, right? I mean, these guys, and kind of you talk about these main guys, there are a lot of guys with, that they're looking at, again, even Roki Sasaki, the young kid. Sasaki himself talked about having injury concerns and using that as part of his explanation for why he came to the United States as early as he did. Obviously, Yamamoto was sidelined for like a long time last year. Glasnow, right? That's just like a ticking time bomb. There's, even last year,
I think I heard you on another show equate Snell and Glasnow as like combined.
Yeah, if you get
season out of
well, that's the thing, right? You get one full season out of those 2 guys, and they're paying them what, like a combined
300 million.
Well, yeah, whatever. Right. Yeah, you could argue that's a $300 million pitcher.
Sure. Yeah. So I think with Snell's injury, this is something he said he'd been dealing with for a couple weeks. It doesn't sound very serious. Like he's going to start playing catch again on Monday. I think over the last couple of years, I can't remember any Dodger starter going on the injured list and then playing catch again by the start of the next week. So this seems like more of a minor thing.
Minor or phantom?
No, minor. Like it's there. I think it probably is. He wouldn't use it. He didn't want to blame his kind of erratic first couple starts on it, but that was probably part
Okay,
of
let me rephrase that. Would Kershaw have pitched?
it. Oh, well, I think, yes, I think Clayton Kershaw would pitch through basically anything, especially in the prime of his career. But again, like a situation like that, like the Snell thing, is partially the Dodgers trying to protect against a longer term injury and being okay with, if we have to use Wroblewski and Knack and a couple games against the Nationals in April and we lose them or, split them, being okay with that because they know they're going to win so many games. I think, again, the whole trick of this is trying to have as many of these guys healthy by the end of the season. And I think where it's really going to lead to are probably some frustrating moments during the regular season for fans wondering, like, okay, why are they being so cautious with this guy? Why are they being so cautious with Shohei Ohtani? It's the same thing with Yamamoto and Sasaki, right? Like, they're not. The reason Landon Knack was starting Wednesday is because Yamamoto isn't pitching on a regular 5-day turn like most other big league starters. So every week, at least for this first month, like that last Wednesday game, they're going to have either to do a bullpen game or kind of figure out something else so that they could keep Yamamoto and Sasaki on a once-a-week schedule. So again, these are all kind of short-term costs for what they hope is a long-term reward. And I think the way that last year played out really hammers this home because, last year, like with Glasnow, he went on the IL a couple times. I think they felt really good about, okay, he's going to be available for us by the end of the season. And then he wasn't. And it almost completely derailed, their ability to progress in the postseason. So that's kind of how I feel about the Snell injury. I think we're going to see this kind of playbook used a lot with a lot of different guys over the course of the year. And yeah, the difference that the Dodgers will be hoping for by the time they get to May or June or July is that Tony Gonsolin will be available, is that Clayton Kershaw will be back, and he's actually progressing pretty steadily right now. He's already back to throwing live BPs and things, and then eventually Shohei Ohtani will be back too. So yeah, in the short term, the depth is not as good as it looked on MLB Network when they were posting the graphics of their 15 starting pitchers or whatever coming into the year. But yeah, is also a reminder, like, even if you have this many guys, you're still going to encounter potential issues during the year. And if you had a situation like this closer to the end of the year, like that's where the risk comes in.
I kind of have a feeling Kershaw's going to be a lot better than kind of people are expecting to. Like, I think people kind of forget, right? When he's out there and he's like reasonably healthy, he's still pretty darn effective.
Well, his arm's healthy right now. He was obviously in DC on Monday with the team. He talked about.
What'd you think of his speech?
It was good. I mean, I think that's obviously for a lot of reasons, a difficult situation to try to like give a speech there and be profound, and also, when he talked to the reporters at the ballpark later that day, it was actually interesting because he just brought up unsolicitedly about, obviously people were wondering if we should go to the White House or not. The way I look at it is, if you get an opportunity to go to the White House and go to the Oval Office and go with your teammates, like, it doesn't matter, it shouldn't matter who is the president at that time. And I think his, for saying that, like, his speech also hit on, like trying to give more profound, like, hey, what this team did last year, watching him as a spectator, like, that's something that should inspire people across all sorts of different specters about perseverance and all that. So I thought it was pretty good overall. You don't have a take.
I just think if you're gonna kind of, I don't know. I think you got to lean into it one way or the other.
Yeah, well,
right. And it might have.
The whole purpose of the Dodgers going was trying to not lean into one thing or the other this trip, right? They were upholding tradition.
They were upholding tradition. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I can't get over your outfit though.
You're also wearing a golf shirt. Okay, for the podcast listeners.
Yeah, but I'm playing, like, I might be on the driving range, right? Like, after
be out there with jeans.
After, like, having a couple beers in the clubhouse. You look like you went to the golf course after, like, committing insider trading yesterday.
Some people that might have been a real thing yesterday. Yeah, well, the shirt, Bad Birdie, great brand.
So, okay, let's talk about the division right now, right?
Okay.
Because the Dodgers, right, and we've kind of been under this assumption, okay, they're going to get into October.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sitting here saying that I'm buying either on the Padres or especially the Giants. Now that said, right, the Diamondbacks still under 500 right now.
They're back over 500.
Okay, they're back over 500, but they're still kind of there, right? I assume they're gonna make a run, right?
Maybe. They need Corbin Burns to pitch better.
I don't know. Do the Dodgers have as much kind of breathing room as they think or may have had in past years? Because I do feel, right, is even though there is a substantial gap between the Dodgers and, say, the Padres, I assume it's the second best team of the division, they have kind of managed to, right, because just by virtue of being in that division, if you want to even be remotely competitive, you're going to have to spend more than teams in other divisions are. This has become, the NL West is now, what like the AL East used to be a while ago, where even the Torontos and, right, Tampa never spent, but they found a way.
They had the genius of Andrew Friedman.
The genius to offset that. But, given, again, maybe the more competitive nature of the NL West, do the Dodgers have time to be kind of sending out Robleskis out to the mound every week?
So this is a fair counterpoint. And I think looking at the way this division has shaped up so far is a little bit reminiscent to 2021. And not that the Dodgers were taking their foot off the pedal at times during 2021, but like that was a year where they really started to adopt the bullpen game strategy and a lot of like the workload management stuff in a much more profound way. And while they got hot later in the year, because they didn't get off to an excellent start to that season, and the San Francisco Giants did, and just kind of matched them step for step, like the whole narrative that year was, well, it was really taxing on them to have to play all the way to the end of the regular season. It was taxing for them to have to go on the road after losing the division in the postseason. And ultimately, that's part of why they ran out of gas, right? That was kind of the whole story of that October. I don't think it's as likely this year that one of these other teams in the NL West goes on a 2021 Giants kind of run. I kind of felt like the Diamondbacks were the team that were best equipped to do that because they had the best starting pitching depth to go with the most reliable lineup. Like I look at the Padres. Right now their bullpen is pitching lights out. They're getting enough out of their rotation. I don't know if the pitching is going to be able to hold up over the course of the year. The Giants, I don't know if they're going to be able to hit enough. And like the D-backs, again, it's like Corbin Burns hasn't actually been that good for them so far. And if that changes, then I think they could become a much more legitimate contender. But until then, that was supposed to be the big improvement they made. So I think it'll be a competitive division. I think you're going to see, maybe 3 playoff teams from it potentially. But I have a hard time envisioning, again, the Dodgers winning fewer than 100 or 105 games.
120.
Well, I thought it was 121 now.
Oh, 121, whatever. I put 120 in writing.
And because of that, I think you're probably okay being a little bit cautious, especially early in the year when guys are still like pushing guys. Doing anything that they would consider pushing a pitcher at the moment is probably not smart. Now you can debate what's pushing a pitcher versus maybe coddling them or being overprotective or overcautious. But yeah, I think that is kind of like the interesting part about the way this season started is there's a lot of parallels potentially to how that 21 season went when they were trying to defend their 2020 title. And you saw in that year, like the pitfalls that come with getting stuck in a really intense division race and potentially not winning the division. Now, again, I think that's unlikely, but has become, again, I think one of the more, I could not have sat here imagining like the Giants were going to be 9-3 or whatever they are right now out of the gate like this, even without like Willie Adames like hitting very well and Justin Verlander pitching very well. Like it's a team that
isn't like Wilmer Flores like hitting right now.
Oh, he's been going crazy, and they had like 3 walk-offs on their last homestand.
Yeah, it's not gonna last.
But I think again, like to me, the D-backs were always going to be the stiffest competition here, and the fact that they've kind of been inconsistent out of the gate should maybe give Dodgers fans solace. Okay, the other part of this, a lot of it's going to depend on Roki Sasaki. Better start this past week. He at least got the ball in the strike zone. How are you feeling about where he's at, kind of what his development looks like, kind of moving forward in the short term? And again, for one of the questions I have is like how, especially if, okay, Blake Snell's hurt, if somebody else goes down, like they might not need him to be great over the course of the year, but they might, again, like suddenly you look at this, it's like, okay, you kind of need him to be making regular starts and giving you some production. How much more encouraged are you after seeing, how he was able to at least compete a little bit more in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is we don't know what they have here in Sasaki, right? We're still in the process of finding out. Again, there were some Japanese reporters who just kind of thought that this is it. We're never going to see him again, right? So the kind of worst case scenario has
harsh judges.
Yeah, the worst. Well, you got to remember, man, like that's like a hard culture, right? I mean, it's a very unforgiving culture, and so right, the fact that like he didn't again, right, and there was a lot of criticism in Japan because he he didn't have the accomplishments that players usually have before they come over here, right? And so, it was kind of viewed over there. Well, he's kind of taking a shortcut, and maybe that's some kind of reflection on his character, right? Which is why I do think that the kind of anti-Sasaki segment that's out there is like views him in a very, very harsh light. I would counter by saying, well, we really don't know. Yeah, you can't say that that he has the goods, so to speak. But you also can't say that he doesn't because he hasn't really been through that either. So they've avoided the worst case scenario, right? He's not going to just completely fold and disappear. At the same time, it was 4+. I think it's a little bit early to kind of start celebrating yet. I mean, so I'm going to go out to the game tomorrow. Sasaki's going to be starting, right?
No.
Okay. Well, okay. Well,
you'll be going to the game on Saturday.
No.
Let's see that.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, Plashkin and I were talking about this early in the week, right? And, it was just kind of, well, when do we write about him next? And I kind of told Plash, and this is right, is that for me, it's either when he gets sent down or when he gives them 6+ innings and he shows us that he's, okay, this is a guy that they can actually count on. To me right now, it's like, I don't know, I mean, I mean, the fact that both of those things are still in, right?
The cutting analysis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where we are though, right? The fact that like Oklahoma City's still in play, or the fact that like it's still in play that like this guy could actually be a legit guy in the rotation. The fact that both possibilities remain in play, I think kind of speaks to the uncertainty of the situation. I mean, it also speaks to, again, how much talent this guy has. I mean, can you imagine if this were anybody else, right? They would be, I mean, Bobby Miller got knocked around a little bit. Didn't he get touched a little bit in Oklahoma?
Well, he was walking a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Oh, the ERA is good.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that type of situation, right? And so, I don't know. I don't know what to make of. I mean, again, I don't know the kid yet, right? We haven't been around him like either that much. And again, his personality, his public persona wasn't as developed as like Otani's was in Japan. So we kind of don't really know what to make of this. To me, it looked like he was really relieved, really happy after that start in Philadelphia. How do you read that, right? Do you look at that and think like, man, like he's happy with pitching 4? I mean, the other way is that look, he was a young kid that kind of had 2 traumatic starts, and he's naturally going to be happy. I mean, I think that the way we kind of view this thing, right? It's ultimately we're going to look back on this ultimately where he is kind of at the end of the season. I don't know.
I had 2 takeaways on this. Not playing psychiatrist like you. Yes, he looked relieved and happy. The big one is it was good to see that in the span of 1 week, he could actually get the fastball back around the zone. Because we talked about this last week. To me, it was going to be like if his command remained even close to as inconsistent as it had been in the first 2 starts, it was going to be hard for him to even develop at the big league level, at which point I think something like an OKC stint might have come more into play, or going to Arizona and working out some stuff. He made an adjustment in the bullpen. He basically, with his landing foot, was coming across his body too much, which is part of why the ball kept missing arm side. He kind of got it more aligned to the plate, apparently. and just seeing something like that, right? Like a small little tweak that he can make in one bullpen and apply, and then have, again, better success at least getting the ball over the plate, I think is reflective of a guy who can, like
He said he
understands.
was a good athlete
Right.
before, right? And I think that's probably a reflection of that.
Yeah. The second part is that was a really good Phillies lineup, and he threw part of getting the fastball over the plate is he threw a lot of them like right down the middle. And they didn't really punish it. And to me, this is like one of the other big questions coming into the year with him is how good is this fastball really? Can it play against big league hitter? Like, can he challenge guys with it without getting punished? And then be able to use it to set up his splitter. And I think the one good part about these first three starts, if you want to extrapolate from a small sample, is when the fastball has been in hittable spots, guys haven't really crushed him. Like I don't even know if he's given up. Has he given up an extra base hit yet this season?
No, I haven't watched as many games as you.
Yeah, but you've watched those three. And so yeah, I thought that was a for a 4+ inning start. I actually thought that was a very positive sign and probably one of the best things that happened for the team during the road trip.
Yeah, the first two games too. I just kind of thought the general, approach of just kind of going away from guys. Right. It wasn't just the fact that he was missing. It was just kind of that he was missing away. To me, it kind of spoke to a little bit of this like, oh my God, I'm in the major leagues now. I can't throw it over the plate. If not, these guys are going to absolutely punish me. Again, reminds me of Yamamoto last year.
Yep.
Right. And
who, by the way, like one of the keys to his success, like Austin Barnes was talking about this, he's challenging guys inside. It's setting up the splitter to fade away from him. Like that's been one of the big adjustments he's made so far this year.
Yeah. And kind of sometimes, right, like just don't overthink it. Like it's, you have a great running back, just hand them the ball. Like just don't get cute, man, and look, and until they hit it, I don't think that there's kind of any problem. Just kind of, well, let's see if they can hit it or not, right? I mean, they hit it, then you got to figure it out. But like, don't go away from like what's made you successful up to this point. I did think the last, and it's funny because last night I was in where was I? Dallas.
Dude, you were the Luca Capital.
Well, yeah, again, I slept even less than you did probably last night.
That's
so,
true.
But so I was just following the game on the game tracker, and so my understanding, Ohtani gets on base in the seventh inning. Seventh?
Yeah, it was like a booted grounder.
Steals a base,
and
then I had to go to listen to JJ Redick. But I just remember thinking when he got on second, like, okay, they're gonna win the game here.
No, they did.
And they did, right? And that's kind of again, I know it's kind of easy to look at these games kind of in the right when they got hit with the Trump jinx, and they lost 3 in a row.
You don't lie. You're disappointed that they won yesterday, and you couldn't make this a thing. The White House. I had a lot of White House curse tweets in my replies this week. And then you click on the hashtag. It's great. You click on that hashtag when people tweeted at you, and you just see every team that's lost a game over the years after they go to the White House. It's like the Penguins lost 10-1 to somebody who wanted to, or to the Capitals one year.
Who was the president then?
That might have been a Trump one too. I'm trying to remember. It was like 2017 or something. But these went back to like 2010 tweets where we're talking about like ancient Twitter archives here. So it was good.
But, I know so they had those games there, but that kind of game pattern
we've seen a lot of.
Yeah. Which is kind of what we saw early. I'm just kind of, so I don't know. I'm not sure again, right? They did run out a couple pitchers out there again, right? Who, probably shouldn't be in the major leagues right now.
To put it nicely. Dave Robertson say we don't want to get swept by these guys. And then a minute he's like, oh, you don't want to get swept by anybody. But yeah,
but the fact that they kind of came back and they won this game, the fact that they can right that's not gone from their arsenal.
Yeah.
I still think it's kind of a good sign.
Yes.
They'll probably come back here and do better. Did Teoscar say something about like cold weather or something? But I saw something about that on Twitter.
Yeah, it was very cold. And depending who you asked in the room,
is that why your coffee wasn't as good?
Your fingers were nice. It was nice and warm in the Nationals Park press box because they keep the windows closed. Philadelphia was not quite as nice. Yeah, Dave Robertson. I don't want to use that as an excuse. All right. Well, I'll end here. Now that you've seen Luka have his Otani-esque moment, as he wrote. Who is the more clutch player, Dylan? Luca or Otani?
I mean, it's got to be Otani. I mean, it's
He's got a title.
Luca's done it. Well, Luca's done it, like, as far as I'm concerned, he's done it once. He wasn't doing it in the middle.
Counterpoint, Luca getting to the finals last year with that Mavericks team.
That's true.
Like, Otani didn't drag the Angels to the playoffs, let alone the World Series.
Yeah, but that team was kind of built to, like, they did a nice job of kind of building a team around Luca, I thought.
Yeah, just
not
to
get
blow it up
not,
the next
not to get too old school, but it's like the Iverson Sixers, right? If you're gonna have that type of guy that's just gonna go nuts, right? Get a bunch of guys that can kind of defend and rebound and stuff. And
the Dodgers got Otani, and then they got like 30 pitchers, and just fingers crossed that they all stay healthy. I give a shout out to the bullpen. The bullpen's been really good this year, and is probably a big reason why the starting pitching depth stuff won't matter so much, or as much as it would for some teams. All right, well,
yeah, I got nothing, man. I'm just fried.
I might actually just go to the driving range now. Like, why not?
Yeah, I mean, you are desperate. Have you been to the Top Golf here?
Yes. Chris Taylor did a charity event there a couple of years ago.
Oh,
that's cool.
Well, you had to like work.
I live like right over here, so yes, I've been for fun. Although the Westchester Golf Course, great public.
God, I miss night boxing, man. You'd spend a week in Vegas and just like one night. There was always the night at the Top Golf at the MGM Grand, man. That was fun.
I'm glad that your fond memories of Vegas revolve around. Oh, they opened a Top Golf. Thank gosh. Yeah, running enough stuff to do. Okay. All right. We're giving Mark, who's supposed to be on vacation right now, a lot to edit. So
I'm trying to kind of like get into something. Right, I mean, because I'm figuring a lot of this is going to get cut, but we need to give him like a nice landing spot, and we got to keep trying here, I think. No? Or maybe we just give up.
Right here, great landing spot. Great. Or a great cold open. We'll see what he does with it.
Yeah, well, both of our planes landed, which is a...
No, see, you're ruining the nice landing spot. All right, we'll be back next week.
Hopefully with Plashke.
I know. We got to get the three of us back together. Yeah. I'll be here. I'll be coming back I'll be going to the airport that week, so yeah, it'll be good. All right, well, for Dylan, I'm Jack. Thanks for watching. And apologies to the podcast listeners who can't see my outfit that you've spent 20 minutes talking about.